Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a work tote comparison video. I know this video has been a long time coming, but I really wanted to make sure that I had used each bag enough to be able to give a full review on it, and there are 4 bags here, so it has taken quite a while, especially as 2 of them were fairly new. But I have 4 styles I'm going to be comparing in this video. So I have my Tory Burch Perry tote, which is the new design. I have my Everlane Day Market tote. I have my Louis Vuitton Neverfull in the size in the Damier Azur with the rose ballerine lining. And then I also have the Valentino Rockstud tote as well. So a variety of price points, and I'm going to be covering everything that I usually cover in my comparison videos. So I'm going to be looking at my general thoughts, versatility, security, comfort. I'm going to be looking at wear and tear, what can fit inside, but I'm not going to be focusing too much on that because they are all similar sizes, as well as which ones are my favorites. So I hope you guys enjoy this and find it useful if you're in the market for a tote bag, and let's get started. So I'm going to be going in price order, and first up is the Everlane tote. This is priced at $175, so it's the cheapest by quite a bit, and in the UK you do have to pay customs. I don't remember exactly how much I paid. I think it was about £30, so not too much, but that is something to factor in if you are ordering from outside of the US. It's a very, very simple tote bag, and it's very light because of its simplicity. So on the inside, it is that raw leather, so there's no lining or anything like that. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but because of the raw lining, it does scratch and scuff quite a bit on the inside. You do just have one pocket here, and then that's it. Like, it's very, very simple indeed. There are no pockets on the back or anything. So this is pretty much as minimal as you can get in terms of a tote bag. And for that reason, I do think it's a love it or hate it one. I don't think that this bag is going to be for everyone. I do think that the quality is one area that this bag falls down on though, and not that it's badly made, because it isn't, but I do think that the leather quality is something that you're either going to really enjoy or otherwise kind of turn you off it. And especially when you compare the leather on this bag to the other bags, there is a very marked difference. But to be fair to the Everlane tote, there is also a very big price difference. So, you know, I would certainly expect to have a different quality leather when I'm spending $175 versus spending $1,300. You know, those aren't the same things. So I do think that it's a fair price for the bag. If I paid any more than that, I'm not sure I would have been fully happy, but for the price, I don't think it's bad value for money at all. The leather is okay in my opinion, and it is a leather that softens over time, and I have noticed that when wearing it. It's still pretty stiff, and I've been using this very, very consistently to carry all manner of items, and it's still fairly stiff, but I have been seeing it soften and kind of grow into itself, which is a good thing. But when I first did get it, I was definitely a bit taken aback by how many kind of dents and marks and things like that there were, especially on the front of the bag. I did contact their customer service about that, and they were really good. They did say that that's just kind of the characteristics of the leather, which I'm not sure I fully bought, but they were really good and they offered me credit. But again, I'm not totally sure about the leather of the bag for that reason. I would definitely prefer my bags to be a bit more pulled together, I guess, and just a bit more polished looking, whereas this is very much a kind of raw leather bag. So that will suit some people's style better than others. For that reason, you know, I've been loving wearing this with, I've been wearing a lot of Reformation dresses, and I think that kind of goes with the whole look, but I wouldn't necessarily choose this for a really smart day at work. You know, if I had a big meeting and I wanted to look really pulled together, this is not a bag I would choose, just because I don't think it looks polished enough, at least for me personally. I would be happy with any of the totes I'm reviewing today, but this one is for me more of an everyday casual bag, you know, throw things in and go. But for a really polished work tote, I don't personally think that this is the one. So ups and downs, I don't think it's bad value for the price, but the leather quality is going to be something that, again, you either really like or dislike. It is much thinner, and because of that, that's why I think it shows the dents. But it does also have that very minimal style as well. So if you do have a more minimal look, or you just want something that's really fuss-free without any logos, I still think this is a good option. And it's also very, very comfortable because the leather is so thin. You know, there's no lining or anything, so you're not having any excess weight, and it's super comfortable as a result. The other thing that you need to keep in mind though is in terms of security, there is no fastening, there's no pouches, there's one pocket without a zipper, so your items are very much out in the open, and that bothers some people more than others. I get a lot of questions about it. It doesn't really bother me, especially because it is quite a high tote, so you really have to reach in, but that definitely is something to keep in mind. So no pouches, your items are out in the open, so you probably have to, you know, use your own pouches or something like that. So overall, I have been liking this bag, and I've been liking it more as I've used it more as well, but there definitely are some things to consider if you are thinking about getting one, such as the minimal raw style of the leather. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, lack of security, and that sort of thing. Next up is the Tory Burch Perry tote. This is the updated design with the more minimal stamping and also the divider in the middle. My love for Tory Burch Perry totes, it runs deep, but I think Tory Burch in general does some of the best totes on the market. They're really good value, they're always great quality. I think they look great, and I'm just a huge fan. This one is priced at £325. I can't remember the US dollar price off the top of my head, but I will insert it in screen. I think it's great value for money, and you can sometimes get these on sale and included in a discount code. So obviously even better when they're cheaper, but even for price, I do think that this is a very good value for money bag. The leather is a kind of grained pebbled leather, but it's the flatter style, which really goes with the kind of minimal look. Some pebbled leathers are a little bit raised and very pronounced, and that's true of the original Perry tote. This one is much flatter though, which I really like. And on the inside, they have more of a Saffiano type finish. So it's very, very scratch proof and worry free, which I love. The internal divider pocket is the only pocket within the bag, but obviously it's a huge one. So it runs all the way across the bag. This is what it looks like. And this is going to be a love it or hate it feature. I think you can't remove it. So it is something that you kind of have to decide whether you're going to like. I love this bag for work. I think it's really functional, especially with the pocket, but I hate it for travel because of the pocket. So because of that, it does limit its usage for me. For travel, I just like to have a big wide open space and chuck everything in, which you obviously can't do if the whole bag is split into two. So definitely something to consider. For work, I find it great because I like the different compartments, but I just don't think it's suitable for my personal travel style. So it's limited in use because of that, but I don't mind. I feel like this is just a very work appropriate tote in general. It's very, very comfortable as well, even though the straps are thinner. It's very comfortable, it's fairly lightweight. I think it looks great as well. I think it looks a lot more expensive than it is. It looks very smart. I would be happy to wear this to my fanciest work meeting, just like I would be on a daily basis as well. So I feel like it is a go anywhere bag except for travel. Comfortable, very secure as well. If you did want to put any of your more kind of prized possessions in the middle pocket, you can fit a decent amount in there, so you can put your phone and your wallet and keys and all those important elements inside, and then you put all your other items in the other two compartments. So I love this bag. I think it's great. I think it's a great price. It's done really well. I think it looks the part, and yeah, I'm just a huge, huge fan. Next up is the Valentino Rockstud tote, and it's a bit of a funny thing. I am going in price order, but this one is cheaper in the UK but more expensive in the US than the Neverfull. So in the UK, I believe it's £885, whereas the Neverfull is $920. But in the US, they're both around the $1,300 mark, but this one is like $20 more. So I don't know why, it's a weird thing. There's not a huge amount in it, but if anyone's wondering, I'm going by UK pricing, which is why I'm featuring this one next. I love this bag. I have said how much I liked it before, but it's just a great tote, and I think it's a very luxurious, beautiful looking tote. I really think this looks the part, and I love the fact that you do have the edgy element with the studs, but it's subtle enough that I would still, again, be happy to wear this to any work meeting. You know, I don't feel like it's so out there that it's going to look out of place at all, but it's still obviously a kind of bag or fashion lover's bag. So I love the look of this. You do have the Valentino stamping, very subtle right there, and then you also have a Valentino stamp there as well. The leather is beautiful. It's this wonderful smushy grained leather. I've not had any issues in terms of wear and tear. I will delve into that a bit more in the next section, but it's done really well so far. It is slightly more smushy though, so especially when you compare it to the Louis Vuitton Neverfull, the canvas on the Neverfull is very structured and hardy, whereas this definitely, you can see, it just has a bit more character to it, and it is just a bit softer. For that reason, I tend to use it mostly with a bag shaper, which also helps to protect the interior as well, because it's a very beautiful and light interior, and I've just been conscious that I want to take care of this bag. You don't have to, it's not an essential, but that's just been my choice and it's been working out great. It holds its structure beautifully, and I've used this bag a lot and it looks exactly the same as when I first got it. So it's been great. Again, very, very comfortable, especially considering it has thinner straps. Super comfortable to wear. It does have a magnetic button as well. I don't know if you heard that just click together. It's a very strong magnet. So this is pretty secure, and I'd say out of all the bags here, it's probably the most secure because of that reason, because even when you don't want to close it, it does just fasten shut. So I love the magnetic closure. You have a zipped pocket right here, and even the lining on the zip pocket, you know, it's this beautiful satin. The attention to detail on this bag is really nice. And then if you flip it, you also have the two pockets right here, which are open pockets. And you also have rings right here where you can attach a pouch, key rings, anything that you want really. I would usually do a pouch, but I love the fact they included those. And yeah, I'm just a big, big fan of this bag. I think it looks very, very luxurious. The security is great. The comfort is great. I think it's very versatile. You know, you can obviously wear this casually, but you can also wear it to every kind of work meeting, or at least I would feel comfortable doing so. It's going to depend on personal preference with the studs, but I love it and I only have good things to say about it. And finally, I have my Louis Vuitton Neverfull in the size in the damier Azur with the rose ballerine lining. I'm going to be specifically talking about this combination rather than the Neverfull in general. I feel like I do have a video on the Neverfull already, and there's just so many videos out there. So I do get a lot of questions about the damier Azur, so I wanted to talk about this particular combination. And I love it. I feature this bag again a lot. I've talked about it a lot. I've had it for a while now, and ever since I got it, it's just been in very, very constant use for me. I don't really think I've gone for any amount of prolonged time where I haven't really reached for this bag. It's just such an easy bag for me to grab, and as I've mentioned in other videos, this is a year-round bag for me. You know, I don't use this only in summer. I am happy to wear it in winter, colder months. I think it still looks great, and because it is so minimal in terms of the color, I do just think it goes with everything, you know. So even if I was to wear a winter coat, I still think it goes. So I love this bag. Neverfulls are very comfortable for me in general. Again, thinner straps, and I think these are actually the thinnest straps of all the totes I'm comparing today, but very comfortable. They do really kind of mold into your shoulder, I think. I never had any issues with comfort with the Neverfull, especially in this size where, you know, it is very, very light indeed. The pink ballerine lining, or the rose ballerine lining, it does get dirty. And I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see that, but there are so many marks on this bag. I've also used this a ridiculous amount, and this is the bag that I've used most out of every bag here, so that is something to keep in mind, but no doubt about it, it's a grubby bag at this point, but it reflects the wear and tear, and I just think that it's kind of part of just a very, very commonly used bag. You do get the pouch as well, and that is something to consider if you are debating between the Valentino and the Neverfull. You don't get a pouch with the Valentino, and I have seen lots of people use these as kind of little clutches. I certainly use this by itself as well, and even if you don't, I think it's just a nice addition to the tote bag. I love the fact that you can just use it as a wristlet. You can also hook it on. I just think it's a really, really nice added value from Louis Vuitton. So I love the fact that the Neverfull comes with this pouch. And then you do just have, I have a really big stain in that. I need to wash this bag. So if anyone's interested in me kind of rescuing the interior of this, I will do a video on it. But yeah, it's been a well-loved bag. But yeah, it has a pocket on the inside as well. So a zip pocket, and you can fasten it with this little clip here. And of course it has little rings as well for you to attach the pouch. So pretty simple, but it does have everything that you need. It does have the nice closure. It has the zip pocket, and then you also get this great little pouch as well. So it's an expensive bag, but in terms of value, I don't think it's too bad. You know, the Neverfull is a very classic bag. It's not going out of fashion, so you're going to be very safe in your purchase. You know, you'll be able to wear this for possibly decades, and it's just a really, really hardy, great bag. Another big favorite for me. I think it's a great choice if you like the Neverfull style and are contemplating this combination. I would say go for it. You know, this has been one of my favorite bags ever. I love the combo, and I just think it's great. Next up is the wear and tear portion of the video, and I'm not going to spend too long on this because I have already touched upon wear and tear for each individual style, and otherwise this video is going to be an hour long, but I am still going to go through bag by bag. So returning back to the Everlane Day Market Tote, and my issues with it I already kind of outlined, which is, you know, the denting. I do think it's pretty prone to scuffs and scratches. You know, there's a little scratch right there, there's a mark there, and overall I can just see a lot of dents. But at the same time, it is that kind of leather, you know, it is a smooth leather. I can already see it softening, and this certainly isn't a bag that's years old. I have been using a lot, so I have seen it soften, but I anticipate it's going to soften more. But I don't think that's going to get rid of the scratches and the dents and all those kind of things. So the inside is very much the same. It is a very raw leather. As I mentioned, you can see a ton of scratch marks on the interior. But again, I think it's supposed to kind of be like that, you know, it is just a very, very raw leather. So this is going to be one that you're either happy with or not. For me, I wouldn't consider this a particularly polished tote, so I do think it kind of goes into that whole minimal leather beaten style, I guess. I do actually think this is possibly one that will look better a year from now than it does right now. Time will tell, but certainly I've been using this for a couple of months and I don't dislike the look of it, but again, I wouldn't use this for a fancy meeting or anything. So wear and tear is fair for the kind of bag it is, but it's certainly not one of those bags which is going to look pristine. Next up is my Tory Burch Perry tote, and if I had to give this one a score out of 10 for wear and tear, it would be an easy 9. It's very hard wearing, very durable. I think it looks great, and I've used this bag a ton. It's just done very, very well, and what I love about it is I feel like whoever designed it really designed it with the everyday in mind, but they managed to do so without sacrificing the look of it or the design. So, you know, I mentioned I like the leather, you know, it's a beautiful grained pebbled leather, which is a little bit flat, so very in keeping with the style, but they did switch to that more hard wearing Saffiano leather, or it's a Saffiano type leather on the inside, which is just very easy to wipe clean, worry free. No major issues at all, and I really inspected this bag. The only wear and tear I can see are just 2 little scuff marks on each corner, and again, I've used this bag a lot, so I do not begrudge it that at all. Looking at every other element of the bag, I can't see a single thing wrong with it, and if I just looked at it like that, it looks the same as when I first got it. So very, very impressed with the wear and tear. I think it's done amazingly well, and I have used this constantly. Next up is my Valentino tote, and this is another one that has done really well. I don't think it's undergone quite such heavy usage as the other styles, so that is something to keep in mind. And as I mentioned before, I have been using a bag liner, which is why the interior looks pretty much pristine, because I just haven't really been touching the interior too much. But with all that said, I still think it's done really well. You know, on the outside, there's obviously nothing I can do to protect it from the elements. You know, it's been rained upon. I've used this without babying it, and it's done very, very well. I've had no stitching issues with the straps, no scuffing issues at all. I can't see anything wrong with the leather, nothing wrong with the base of the bag. It's just done very, very well, and again, I've been using this a lot as well, so no issues there. I imagine if I wasn't quite so careful with the interior, I do think that this would mark and show dirt quite a lot. So if you were considering this bag, I do think it's a worthwhile investment to buy a bag liner, because otherwise I can just tell, you know, it's a light color, it has a beautifully soft interior, but it's just gonna stain really easily, so something to keep in mind. But because I did take those extra steps, it looks pretty much pristine, looks just as it did when I first got it, and I do think that this is worthy of a very high score as well. You know, I haven't mistreated it quite as I have my Neverfull, but I have been using it a lot, and I think it's fared very, very well. And finally, I have my Louis Vuitton Neverfull, and I feel like this bag almost needs 2 different ratings for wear and tear, because on the one hand, you do have the canvas, which is pretty much indestructible. I think it's such an underrated handbag material. It's lightweight, it looks great, I think, and just nothing ever happens to it. You know, the canvas still looks as good as new. I've not had any issues at all, and I've used this bag literally hundreds of times. You know, I've used it for travel, used it for every day, used it for work. It's just, I've used it constantly, and the canvas just looks as good as new. The vachetta and the interior is a slightly different matter though. The vachetta is just something that you have to decide whether you mind it kind of patinaing. I don't. I think it looks absolutely fine, but obviously there is always the option to replace that if it does bother you, obviously at a cost though. The interior, it's a delicate interior, I'm not gonna lie to you, and I have not babied this at all, and I've used it a ton, so it shows fair wear and tear, I'd say, for how much I have babied it and how much I have used it, but there's no doubt about it, it is a fairly delicate lining, so something to consider. It doesn't bother me. I'd buy this bag again in a heartbeat, but it is a bit of a mixed rating because of that. Still fairly high though, because essentially I can clean the interior. The vachetta doesn't bother me, and the canvas looks just absolutely perfect, I think. So for the overall look of the bag and what other people see, I still think it deserves a pretty high rating, and I think it's done really, really well, especially for how much I've used it. Onto the what fits inside portion of the video now. I have my Everlane Day Market tote right here, and I'm not going to do this like other comparison videos just because there's very little point, you know. Obviously these bags can fit in wallets and makeup and things like that. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So instead I'm just going to be fitting in my laptop and a magazine. Magazine obviously not that essential, but it will give you an idea in terms of general papers and showing you how much room there is left over. So I have here my laptop, and then I have my issue of Vogue, and clearly there is a lot of room left over. You know, there's the laptop and the magazine, but you could fit in there some lunch, umbrella, water, makeup, wallets, all kinds of different things. It is very, very roomy indeed, so plenty of space left over. Next up is my Tory Burch Perry tote, and I'm going to pop in my laptop and my magazine. And it fits very nicely. It's a much sturdier bag, as you can kind of see from me putting that in there. It stands up very nicely. It does have a fair bit of structure, and as you can see, it doesn't have a ton more room in there, but it's certainly got enough room for those items. And then of course you do have that whole extra compartment, and you do have the middle compartment as well. And something I didn't mention in the main portion of the video is that this is kind of not fixed to the bottom, so it is slightly movable. But yeah, plenty of room for that. It fits very nicely. For me, this is just made for work. It's just absolutely ideal for that. Just a very, very comfortable fit. Next up is my Neverfull, and this one doesn't have quite as much structure as the Tory Burch Perry tote. You can see the slouchiness a bit more, but it still holds it more than fine. And because of the wide open space, you have a ton more capacity in there, and that's even with the addition of the pouch as well. So it fits very easily, and you could fit in, you know, your lunch, water bottle, umbrella if you wanted to. Certainly smaller than the Day Market tote, but still very roomy indeed. And it does have more capacity than the Perry tote, just because of the lack of divider. And then I have my Valentino tote as well, and this is very similar to the Neverfull in the sense that it is just a wide open space, so you can fit in anything that you would want to, you know, your lunch, water bottle, anything like that. There is plenty of room. Obviously if you put a bag liner in there, it does reduce the capacity slightly, but not much, and obviously you do get that extra organization element as well. So still plenty of room, a very good sized tote. These are all smaller than the Everlane Day Market tote, so the Tory Burch, the Valentino and the Neverfull are slightly smaller, but still obviously very, very roomy indeed. Okay, so first up is the Everlane tote. I feel like you can see the creasing particularly badly because of the light reflection. It doesn't actually look that bad when you look at it dead on, but the light is definitely bringing out the creasing. This is the size, as I mentioned, this is the largest of all of them. It is quite tall, and I am 5'7" for reference, and it's a pretty large tote bag. You know, you can fit a very decent amount in there. The drop is quite low because it is such a tall bag. And it's just a very, very roomy tote. So I don't feel like it looks, you know, too out of proportion or anything like that. It is just a very, very generous size. Next up is the Tory Burch Perry tote, which looks quite dinky in comparison to the Everlane tote, but I do think this is pretty perfectly proportioned. I think it's a very nice size and can fit all that you need it to, but at the same time, it's not overwhelmingly big. Sits very nicely on the shoulder. It's a very nice handle drop as well, so you can fit it very comfortably over coats, so it's good for winter as well. And it just sits really nicely, I think. Next up is my Valentino Rockstud tote, and this along with my Tory Burch Perry tote, along with my Neverfull, all very similar sizes. They are very comparable indeed, not much in it at all. And again, it has a decent handle drop or strap drop, so you can easily fit this over a coat or a jacket if you wanted to. And I think it's just a very, very nice size. And then finally I have my Neverfull MM. Again, very comparable to the Perry tote and the Valentino. The only real difference between the four of them is the Everlane tote is a bit bigger, but a very nice size, a decent strap drop. And in case you guys are wondering about the strap length drop, enter crazy bag lady pose, but this is what all four look like on me. So you can kind of see they are very comparable indeed, you know. Tiny bit lower, the Tory Burch Perry tote. This one sits a bit higher, but it's also quite a bit taller, which you can see. And then these two are pretty much identical. On to my conclusion now, and which are my favorites out of these, and I feel like it's going to be pretty obvious, but I'm going to go over each one anyway. Coming in last, it is my Everlane tote, and I feel bad because I think it's still decent value for what it is. You know, it is by far the cheapest, but it doesn't come without its issues. So I've said it many times during this video, but this is going to be one that you just have to decide whether the leather style is going to be for you, whether you like that whole minimal look, but it's definitely my least favorite out of all the bags here. You know, I do generally speaking like my bag to be a bit more polished, and for that reason it does limit the versatility of the bag for me, and I just don't like it as much as the other ones. So still a decent buy and a good value option if you are on a budget and you want something that is going to be kind of a catch-all, but definitely coming in at number 4 for me. As for the other three, I do have my Tory Burch coming in at number 3, but I want to caveat that with saying that the difference between number 1, number 2, and number 3 is very minimal. I like them all a lot, and I'd recommend them all. I recommend the Everlane tote as well if you know what you're getting into. And the Tory Burch is coming in at number 3, but that's only because I like the other ones slightly more. You know, it's not a massive difference, and certainly I would say if budget is a factor, this is number 1 for me. I think by far it is the best value bag out of any that I'm reviewing here. I think it looks way more expensive than it is. The quality is great, the design is thoughtful, and I just love this bag. So if value for money and budget is a factor, I would definitely say you can't do better than the Tory Burch Perry tote in my opinion. I think it's fantastic and I love it. I'm very happy to have it in my collection. Tory Burch totes are great, they've never let me down, and I think this is a really, really solid choice. So even though it comes in at number 3, if we are really thinking about kind of value and price, Tory Burch is number 1 for me. Which leads me to my 2 other styles, and there isn't much in these in terms of price, which is why I'm pretty much treating them as the same. But I would say that I would recommend both of these, and I really like them both, but it's just going to come down to what you want it for. If you want a go anywhere bag that is going to be good for travel, for work, for casual, for everything, the Neverfull is a great choice. You know, I think it's the most versatile in terms of everything, how good it is to go to different places, how durable the canvas is, how it looks, just everything about it. I think versatility is the best thing about this Neverfull. You also have the option of cinching it in if you wanted to as well, if you wanted to make it into a smaller shoulder bag. I just think it's great, and you know, my love for the Neverfulls is very, very well documented on this channel. But the Valentino tote is really great as well, and I would say that if you want something a little bit different, because let's face it, the Neverfull is absolutely everywhere, a lot of people own them, so if you wanted something a little bit different, or if you wanted something a little bit more polished and you didn't want to go down the monogram route, I think that the Valentino tote is gorgeous. I think if you wanted to kind of treat yourself to a beautiful new work bag, I think this is a lovely choice. And I think out of all the bags here, it looks the most luxurious, you know, it just has something about it. If you watch my video with Dan, you'll know this is also his favorite bag, very strange, but it is, and I think it's just a beautiful option. So if you're happy to get a bag liner for it and, you know, kind of take care of the inside, I think it's a great bag in every sense. You know, it is pricey, but I think you get an extremely luxurious bag for your money. So I love this. I love the Neverfull as well, but if you did want something a bit different, then I think the Valentino is a beautiful choice. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope I covered everything that you wanted to know, but if I missed anything out or if you have any other questions for me, then leave me a comment down below. If you like bag review videos, please do give this a thumbs up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.